What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Quad Shop Podcast. This is episode number 17. And as always, we are stoked to be here. Roan, how you feeling?
What's up, my brother? Feeling great, ready to go. Excited about today's episode. You know, I'm feeling loose. I'm feeling pretty good. I had my quad shot going right here.
Is that the first of the day?
First of the day, kid.
All right, so you're halfway through the quad. You're too deep. I like to see it. I had a little bit of matcha this morning, and I'm on my yerba now. So just a hot stew.
How's that sipping?
It's good.
Yeah,
plain.
How's that sipping?
It's just
Is it
plain.
all right?
Kid, it's plain. All right?
Okay. I'm just saying. Is it oiling up your machine or what?
It's going. So this is episode 17. So what we got planned for you today is Ronan has the buzz of the day. He'll take that.
Tune in.
And then we have the book review. The Mountain Is You, Brianna Weiss. We're going to review the entire book, kind of just briefly go over every chapter and just graze it. You know what I mean? And then we'll refer to each episode where we covered that chapter. So if you feel like you missed that episode, you want to go back and that chapter interests you, you can go back and then tune in. And then we will announce our new book that we will be reviewing for episode 18 next week, chapter 1. So why don't we get things kicking off? I know you're quadding up over there, T. So
quadding up.
Yeah, let's get started with the buzz of the day.
Let's do it. Guys, welcome back to another episode. Excited to be here and hopefully share some knowledge with you all today. I'm drinking my quad shot. Ado's on his yerba. We're fired up. We're staying consistent with this shit no matter what. And that's the blueprint for life. So let's go.
Love it.
Buzz of the day.
All right, I'm tuning in here.
And I want everyone to drop back in and hear some wisdom right here, all right? The next time you are trying to craft a glow-up story that is compelling to others, ask yourself why you are still waiting for their approval. Page 173, The Mountain Is You.
And that resonated with you?
And let me explain. So give me give me back the mic here. So let me explain to the audience, and JMO, tune in here. As I was thinking about what my buzz of the day would be for today, I was scrolling through my camera roll because that's where I screenshot, inspiring posts, motivational stories I come across during my day-to-day, including quotes from my motivation app I get each morning. And what I did is I came across a screenshot of this book. I chose this quote for today because it made me think about our journey on this podcast as well as my life outside it. As in our society today, we often are programmed nowadays to look for external approval or validation with the likeness of Instagram and social media. We see someone who has 200K followers and we automatically put them on a pedestal thinking they must be better than us, or they must be better looking, or they must have something we don't. Everyone is trying to climb that mountain to reach the final boss of I'm in, I'm excited, I'm accepted, I'm in the cool kids club. I say F that. Life's too short to beat to someone else's drum, right? We're all built with intrinsic gifts on this earth. This makes us each our own individual. In order to align with your life purpose in your purest form, you analyze what you're good at, analyze if you have a passion for that, and then do everything you can to cultivate that skill and deepen your knowledge. Not everyone can be a master at Instagram poses or captions that stand out. And frankly, I don't think anyone should, do something they're not, strive for something they don't have a passion or are good at, right? Oh, that's not true, but the gist. Be authentically you. And if that brings a large Instagram following, then so be it. But don't ever forget who you are. Stop waiting for approval from others. They were never going to give it to you. So at least give it to yourself.
Okay. And that was straight out of the book. What chapter was that?
No, that wasn't a quote from the book. That was my spin on my buzz of the day.
You wrote that down after reading that first initial little blip from the book, page 173.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then that was Roan T. Raw afterwards. I loved that, man. That was beautiful. Validation of others and
looking for that in others for yourself.
Is
right? never gonna work. You've got to validate it yourself because
if you're coming from a place where you're doing something to impress others. You're doing something for, say, like your parents have high expectations and you're trying to reach those expectations because you want their validation of achieving those expectations or landing in a place where you've accomplished all these things that they want you to. And you may not necessarily want to either, right? So that can get tricky. Yeah, you're still growing. Yeah, you're still working, but you're doing it for other people, right? You're not doing it for yourself. And that can lead you down a path where you're not really following your life's journey, and you might end up in a position. Exactly. You might not be happy, and you might end up in a position where you look back and you're like, wow, I don't want to be here. So now you have to backtrack, find who you are, find what you love, and kind of start from ground zero, right? Because following that path, right? You know, so many people go to college because we're told to, and they find something as a child. You're 17, making a decision that affects a big portion of your life. I don't want to say the rest of your life because you can always change it, but a big portion. And you're spending a shitload of money to go to these schools, and you're making a decision on a couple different majors and minors and specifics that is going to now be your income, right? And your income is something that you need in order to survive, keep a roof over your head, and keep food in your cabinets. So now you're kind of locked in, and some people stay locked in, right? And they may feel unhappy and this and that. And then it's a cycle, right? And it all stemmed from expectations. It all stemmed from trying to validate other people. Because, yeah. So that's just one example of, a scenario like that happening. But it happens often. I've done it. I've had to backtrack, But when it comes down to it, really, with what you were saying, beautifully worded by Roan T there, like doing things for yourself, taking the time necessary to listen to yourself and what it is you truly want. What do you think?
I think we forget to realize that we're only on this earth for a very, very short amount of time. And I think we truly, like, the only way we're going to feel like we've lived out our life purpose and we've like lived and accomplished and accomplished what we were set out to do here on this earth before we were even born is if we align with that, if we are fully in tune with our life's purpose. And you might not know, but at least you're working towards that. And there are definitely times of uncertainty, but at least you are trying everything to get better and to live your truth, right, in your purest form. And I think that's honorable and commendable.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned on the buzz of the day, and then we can transition to something else. But a lot of people in our society don't do that, and especially with the likeness of social media, it's becoming very rare to find that. So when I do find individuals like that, I'm just coming in contact with, or out on the street, or people who are pursuing their passion and they don't care what other people think, I really I respect that, and I love to see that. And it's
that
just like,
shows. Wow. That shines. Yeah. That shines. You know right away when you meet somebody like that, right? It's like, oh, damn, this person's doing what they love to do. And because they're doing what they love to do, they're so passionate about it. They've put in the time and they're good at it. And now that the Instagram following thing you were saying, now you've gained this following, and now it fuels the food in your cabinets, the roof over your head, right? And it's like, holy shit, it's fucking possible. It's possible. But that also comes back to, like you said, you may not know your purpose, but in the book, and, I think we can both agree that this book was very beneficial for, us as individuals 100%. And the information that we gained. But it comes back to, the book, and she mentioned this a lot, like, if you're present and you can decipher between your feelings and your intuition, right? And you're listening to that and those intuitive thoughts, and you're trusting your gut, and you're following that compass, then you are going to be on that path, right? You're not doing something for other people's validations. You're doing it because it's for yourself, and you're trusting yourself. And then you create these structures and plans.
That's so true, because, hey, once you do that, and if you do that, you can never freaking lose, man.
Right.
You can never lose in life. If you're doing that and being a good person and following your dreams, you can't lose.
Right. And that's not to say you don't get fucking knocked down, right?
Yeah.
And fucking
You
get up
can
bruised and
yeah.
shit. You know what I mean? Like that's not losing though, right? That's a failure. And
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
book, right? A bunch of times she said, man, like
Losing's not
failures.
trying.
Yeah, there's a difference between a failure of never showing up and then a failure of trying your best at something but not succeeding. Now you have come out of the situation with more knowledge to attack it again, right? And you're going to because you love to do it. But it's easy
Yep.
to fucking find the easiest way, the path of least resistance when you're in a line of work or you're doing something that you're not really fucking jazzed up about. You know what I mean? If I was sitting at a fucking desk, right? Some people may love this. I'm just going to use an example that I wouldn't be able to do.
Sure.
If I was sitting at a desk, let's say I was like an accountant or something. I was sitting at a desk in a cubicle in a room full of people that are doing the same thing, right? And I'm typing away on the computer and I'm fucking looking at numbers and I'm, boom, boom, boom. If I was doing that, man, I wouldn't be inspired to do the best I could be, right? Or I don't want to say I wouldn't, but it would be hard for me to find that inspiration to do the best and be the best and push. And yeah, it's good to like be able to do that in situations where you don't want to be in. But I'm just saying, like, if I'm doing something like barbering, that's why I'm a barber, because I love to do it. And it's easy for me to want to learn, want to grow, want to become better, want my next cut to be better than the last, want my client to be even happier than the last time he sat in my chair. You know what I mean? So I'm pushing myself and pursuing greatness because I love to do it. And it's easier for me as opposed to if I was in an office cubicle. So if you feel like you need a shift, if you feel like you need to get out of where you're at, know that it is totally, totally possible. Okay, you are not locked in any way. But remember, we're going back to episode, I think it was 14, micro shifts, okay? Implementing small things one by one, little by little, okay? It's not like a breakthrough boom. Everything changes, okay? Stuff happens like that and it's hard to digest, but what's really going to compound and make that change is the little things, right? So you're not stuck.
It's going to create that consistency in your new form, right? Yeah. But I will say you can just switch up and be like, hey, I'm done with this. Like obviously sometimes in abusive relationships, right? You see the person's like, hey, I've had enough, boom, I'm leaving. You can do that, but to maintain consistency with that new, adventure or new job in life, then it's those micro shifts that add up, right? Develop those micro shifts and start incorporating them on a daily basis. And you're eventually going to get to that future state of where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So that's the point of that chapter. So without further ado,
wait,
great segue. Go ahead. What do you got?
I want to stay on this for a little bit longer, and I haven't even told you this. So this touches on like validation of others, right? And I know that we do this because we love to do this, and we do this because we're passionate about it, and we do this because we care. That's why we show up and do this podcast, right? We don't have
100%.
We do not have a big following. We do not care what people think. We are open, we're vulnerable, we're here, and we do it because this is what we love to do. And we think it is an important part of our own lives to help other people. And that's what we're trying to do here. So anyways.
Very well said. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. So my mom was getting some work done on her truck. I used to be a mechanic at Toyota on Cape, one of the local dealerships. So there's talk about me working on it. And then I was like, hey, look, honestly, I don't have a lot of time right now. Why don't, you just go to this guy up at Toyota, and he can check it out and see what's going on. So she went up there. She brought her truck there, got it fixed, all things said and done. Boom, boom, boom. Couple days later, I wanted to go thank the guys. So I brought them donuts. I showed up to the dealership, brought them donuts, said, what's up? I haven't seen them since I left. So said hey to everyone, it was good to see them. And there's this one guy, Luke. he was always so nice, and he's always smiling, and he's just like he's just pure, like he's pure. And I always really, really loved his presence in the shop. He was just awesome every day, consistently. And I don't know him very well, but recently, we've been posting our reels on Facebook, and then we have the link to the website, and you can get to the podcast and blah, 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 blah. But we have been friends on Facebook, and he's been watching our reels. So, I'm just get there, saying what's up, blah, 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 donuts. And then me and Luke start talking, and Luke's like, hey, man. He's like, you guys. He's like, keep going. He's like, you guys are better than most out there doing what you're trying to do. He's like, you guys are meant for this. He's like, the stuff that you're saying, all of this stuff, right? So I wasn't seeking the validation from other people, right? But he gifted that to me. So sometimes you receive validation, and it kind of it makes you feel like, wow, like, thank you so much for that, because
no, it's really nice. But you showed up. We're showing up in our purest form here, just doing it because we love it, right?
Right.
And that was my message. It's like, if you love it and you're doing it, and you are out on a platform like this and YouTube and social media, Spotify, then perfect. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and go get after it, because that's what we love to do.
Yeah.
So I think that was just and I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Very nice of you to do. And the people remember that stuff for years to come. And it's just a small, it's not anything crazy. Donuts don't cost them a ton, but it's like, it's the time you're taking out of your day to go do that, right? No one, I don't know a lot of people in our society that do that. And obviously that's a testament to who you are, but as well as like the things that are important in life, right? Because maybe one of them, their parents just died, or they just got diagnosed with cancer, or Luke, maybe, something was going on in his life, and you showed up and had a great conversation, like those little things you just never think about. That's the reality of life.
Yeah.
Right. So,
right.
That's awesome that you did that. And yeah, the validation, like when you're doing something with your heart and putting your all into it, it's nice to get that validation and be like, oh, okay.
Yes.
That's it's coming across, it's showing.
And it comes. Validation will come.
Yeah.
Appreciation will come. People will express that to you, right? But you don't 100%. Do it because of that. You don't seek it, right? It's not your driving factor, but it's nice when you receive it. Yeah. And to be able to receive that from him out of the blue, totally unexpected, just like, was so amazing. So thank you, Luke, if you're watching. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. And yeah, dude. So I just wanted to add that in, because that's the other aspect of validation, right? It's not like this terrible thing. It could be great.
Exactly. I appreciate you adding that and analyzing kind of what we were going down, that what we were talking about, and adding that in. So that's awesome. Let's get into chapter 1.
How's your stew doing?
Overview.
Is your
brother? I'm cooked. I'm chopped. I'm done.
You're out?
I'm out, dude.
God.
That's good though.
Let's get a refill. All right. Let's go. Chapter 1. So
chapter 1.
Yeah, man. I just want to say, like, this book, fucking awesome book. If you didn't read along and you just listened to us review it, I would recommend you read it, because this book has so many little gems in it, and you're going to be able to fully absorb it. And we do our best to, overview it chapter by chapter, but you'll take away different stuff than we do. So that's why we recommend the read along. And go check it out for yourself. So The Mountain Is You, Brianna Wiest. Much gratitude for this book being out there for the public to absorb. Let's get into chapter 1, a brief overview. So if you guys want to do the in-depth review of chapter 1, that will be episode 10. Okay, so episode 10 is chapter 1 review. And you'll be able to find that. I believe it's like at the 20-minute timestamp. But let's get into it. Roan T, why don't you kick us off?
Let's do it. Chapter 1. The gist of chapter 1, what I took away from chapter 1 and when I went back in to review this for today, your new life is going to cost you your old one. Meaning you're just starting your ascent to the top of the mountain. You will suddenly be placed in challenging situations since you are beginning to shed your old skin. It's going to cost you being liked and understood. Eventually, you'll realize your comfort zone is designed to be rebuilt, as we are constantly evolving organisms as humans, rebuilt around the things that actually move you forward. So, rebuilding that comfort zone around things that are actually meant to move you forward in life, right? It's the shedding of the skin. It's the hardest part. And I would say chapter 1, if you think about climbing the mountain and getting and ascending to the other side, like you're just starting that trek, that hike. You're starting that first 5-10 minutes. You're like, oh, here we go. You know, it's about making that switch, right? Talked about having that anger of not being where you want to be, and boom, flipping that switch, and then micro shifts, discipline, creating structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's important to touch on though, is that her description of the mountain, right? So the mountain itself is the block between you and the life you want to live and the person you want to become. So that is the mountain, right?
100%.
That's her foundation for this first chapter. So that's your mountain. That is what you're standing at the bottom of and staring up at. And over that mountain is a new, better you. Okay? Improved. Right? The mountain is hardships. Okay? The mountain is challenge. The mountain is growth and blood, sweat, tears, getting knocked down, getting back up. That's the mountain, right? And sometimes you stumble back down and you have to climb back up. But on the other side, right? So the mountain is your adversities. And there's nothing holding you back in life more than yourself. Right? So the intimidation of standing at the bottom of that mountain will stop you from even climbing it in the first place. And that's just you.
110%.
Dude, that's just you. You're the only one stopping yourself, okay?
Forget tripping over a rock and hitting your head and knocking yourself out. That's just you, bro.
Ron T.
You know what I mean, though? Like that's just you. That's before anything else comes into external factors, environmental factors, anything else, in your way. So, what else you got?
So I liked how she described this, and this is that anxiety you have standing at the bottom is, the resistance to the unknown. No matter how beneficial something is, we have resistance towards it until it's familiar. So we're gaining all these beautiful things, right? And beautiful knowledge, but it's new and it's different. And we're like, what is this? And we have resistance to it. No matter how good it is for us, we still feel that abrasion, right? So, or abrasiveness. I liked that. And this chapter is prepare for change. Prep yourself, get ready. Shit's about to change, okay? And you got to make that initial shift, like you said, Ronan. You got to make that. This is the tipping point, okay? Boom. Now you're fucking at rock bottom. You're at the bottom of the fucking mountain. Shit's about to change.
Now you're free to climb that mountain.
Shit's about to. Let's go. Shed it, dude. It's about to get fucking real because change isn't easy, okay? Change isn't this fucking beautiful, enlightening. Oh, this is amazing. No, it's tough. It's grit. Let's go. Buckle up. You're gonna you gotta work if you want this shit. Okay? It doesn't come easy. Let's go. Work. Yeah, dude, I was yelling that in basketball yesterday. Come on, wake up. Let's go. Let's work.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, log run.
Log run. Let's go chapter 2. What do you got?
Chapter 2. What you have are not big problems. Right? When you start the beginning of that mountain, you think, oh, this is that. And you think you have big problems. Like, I can't climb that. But big attachments to things that slow us down.
Yep.
We talked a lot about our upper limit, the amount of good you are comfortable having in your life. A lot of us, once we end up having a lot of good, we subconsciously, what's happening in order to bring us, we subconsciously kind of, whatever's happening in order to bring us back to what's comfortable and familiar. Like, we subconsciously try to do that. we overcome this by realizing you are surpassing and reaching new levels in your life.
Yeah.
Accepting those changes, slowly developing your new reality without resistance from yourself. Because if you think about it, you're at that mountain going up for a hike, right? Or trying to what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. You die.
Yeah. Death. But
you would never. What's the likelihood of that happening? You've got to go through these scenarios. What's the likelihood of a mountain lion coming down and fucking rip your ankles off your
But dude,
your legs?
here's the thing: you can die not trying too. So you might as well die trying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's the worst that can happen? You grow out of your comfort zone, you make new friends, or you develop a new. I don't think that's a very bad thing. I think that's a great thing. I think people are just so comfortable nowadays.
Yeah, you got to be uncomfortable. So in chapter 2, if you want to reference chapter 2, if you want a more in-depth description of chapter 2, you can reference that to episode 11.
Can I mention something as well?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, real life example happened the other day. I was so my friend Leah from the Yard Gym, Pacific Beach. Shout out Leah. I been getting in a routine of going to Fitness Collective every single day, just comfortable there. I know everyone. I go in, say what's up, what's up. So I signed up for Leah's class on Wednesday of the Yard, and I was like, shit, I don't know anyone. I'm going by myself. My buddy that I was going to go with didn't go or didn't respond. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do?
Show
up.
I
kind of like part of me was like nervous because this is like a ton of people go to these classes. I didn't know anyone. And part of me was like, God, I was literally debating, like, I don't think I should go. Like, I don't really feel sick or anything. And then I sat back. I'm like, no, don't be soft. And I ended up going, and I had a good workout, and there was cool people there, and I felt good after about expanding my comfort zone, getting in more people's eyes, and just expanding. And I love that fear, like that it was almost like a test. And I didn't go to get a workout in there that day. I went there to get outside of my comfort zone and push through that barrier, that mental block I had.
Yeah.
So that's why I went, and I fucking showed up, and I pushed through because it wasn't that big of a deal anyways.
I love that, man. And we were having a discussion in the barbershop as well. And someone in the chair next to me, in Mark's chair, was talking about going to the gym, and he's like, most of the time I don't want to show up to the gym. And I just interrupted. I said, hey man, that's when it's mental gym. Okay? Like, yeah, you're going mental there to gym. You're going there to physically work out, right? It's the gym. You're there to exercise, right? But when you don't want to show up, when you don't want to do it, it becomes a fucking mental gym. So push yourself past that and show the fuck up. I love that. Thank you for sharing that personal experience with us. So
You're welcome, brother.
Back to kind of like the overview of chapter
Quad
2.
Shop merch is coming soon.
Yep. Back to the Back to the overview of chapter 2. Just show up, right? That's what you just described. That is beautiful. But she starts to kind of dive into a little bit more of self-sabotage, describing self-sabotage, and then it's describing self-sabotage as a way of like, it's not a way of that's hurting ourselves. It's actually a way of us trying to protect ourselves. So I really did enjoy that description, and it makes a lot of sense. And I didn't view it that way until I read it. So much gratitude for that. She also touched on this chapter, staying clean and organized is a good way to stay, on your path and dialed in.
I would say you do that very well. I think you're the most cleanliest human I've ever met.
I never used to be like that, though, right? I used to have laundry everywhere. But once I realized the importance of staying clean here and around me, environmental factors play a big role. So if your environment's clean, it's going to help you stay on track and
declutter the mind.
And yeah, exactly.
I remember when I stayed over on the couch, like you're like, nope, fold that blanket. I go, yes, sir.
Yep. Let's go.
And I folded that shit, right?
It's folded right now, bro. You gave me that blanket. T.
There it is.
You remember that big old Larry?
In loving memory. I used to use that one on Hummer's couch this past summer.
Yep. So creating a schedule, right? And also a big question at the end of this chapter was, what company are you keeping? Who are you spending time with, right? So ask yourself that. Chapter 3. And if you want to reference a deep dive into chapter 3, that is episode 12. Okay? So in chapter 3, she took emotions, right? And she broke down each emotion. And I'm just going to read off these emotions: anger, sadness, guilt, embarrassment, jealousy, resentment, regret, chronic fear. And it's about processing these emotions. And we in in episode 12, give her descriptions of all these different, emotions and break them down. But it's taking these emotions and being able to process them and actually seeing the positive in each one, seeing the positive in anger, seeing the positive in sadness, right? It's hard to see that, but she does a great job of explaining the process as to which you can go ahead and start gaining positive, beneficial things and just grow from these negative, quote unquote, emotions. So I loved that. And then she also touched on the intuition, right? Intuitive thoughts and feelings, the difference between those, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So trusting your gut, listening to your body, right? And not allowing the mumbo jumbo mixing of your feelings, right? Not acting from your feelings, but acting from your intuition and being able to decipher between those two.
Overcoming self-defeating habits to begin building a life that is aligned with who we really are and what we are here to do, right? Do you mind if I add something else?
Round T, that's what you're here for, baby. Let's hear it.
Thank you, brother. The truth is that when we stop being afraid of what we cannot control and know instead nothing can possibly ruin our lives more than we are ruining them, we are completely freed. Because really, all this book is about self-sabotage and holding yourself back due to irrational fears or maybe rational, but accepting that, right? And most of the time it's irrational and moving through that, moving on, right? And because we all have roadblocks, right? And the successful people overcome those roadblocks, and the ones who aren't successful and live the life of the path of least resistance do not overcome, right? They let those stay in the way of them developing more as a human being, right? So we need to get out of our own way. And that was what I took away from chapter 3. So back to you, Ado.
Yeah. Processing emotions. And she really stressed in this chapter being present and the importance of being present, and how that's going to help you process emotions and listen to your gut rather than listening to your feelings, because they'll lead you on a path of irrationality. You know what I mean? If you listen to your feelings and you let these false scenarios become true, it's not going to do you any good. So, chapter 4. And if you would like to reference chapter 4, a deep dive into chapter 4 is episode 13. What do you got for chapter 4, T? What do you like about that?
Yes, sir. I'll start us off and then you can finish. Chapter 4, guys. We cannot live being governed by how we feel. Our emotions are temporary and not always reflective of reality. We often resist most deeply the things that we want most, right? Overcoming adjustment shock. Your big life change is going to force you to level up in every way imaginable. And the way to overcome it is to familiarize yourself with that and that feeling. Don't always trust psychic thinking of thinking, oh, I felt this and this means this and that. No. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy that we don't want to get in the habit of realizing or understanding, because your brain obviously sometimes, honestly, and believe it or not, doesn't have your best interests, right? So you've got to get away from that and just going based on how you feel in your emotions and psychic thinking, come back and drop back into reality. That's what I have for chapter 4. Go ahead.
Okay. So chapter 4 was the integration and the understanding of emotional intelligence, right? She brought us the description of emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, interpret, and respond to your emotions in a healthy way, right? So in chapter 3, she touched upon these emotions and each one and how you can process them and deal with them. Now this is emotional intelligence. This is as a collective how you deal and respond to these emotions, um, and doing so in a healthy way. So the difference between wanting and having, she touched on as well. So when you want something so bad and that's all you think about, want, what do you have right now? Be grateful for that. And this chapter 4 was also when she first mentioned the micro shift and the importance of micro shifting. And we talk a lot, a lot about that in episode 13, and how personally micro shifts have been beneficial for us. So if you haven't watched episode 13, go back and check that out because it's
Yes,
a good
sir.
one. It's a good one.
Great one.
And what I really loved about this chapter as well is the brain and how it is designed for challenge. Okay, when we don't give our brain challenges, when we don't face adversity, and we stay in this shielding mentality, right? We're shielding ourselves from challenge, we're shielding ourselves from adversity for whatever reason that may be for you. That is not how our brain is designed. It's how it's operating currently, maybe for you, for me, whoever. But we need to introduce challenges to ourselves, and these challenges should be stepping stones to achieve our goals. Okay, so those stepping stones are micro shifts, right? It all comes together, and I loved this. She ended the chapter kind of with something like, there's no such thing as the path that we should have taken, right? So you can't dwell on the past, right? You should have done something. Should is a weird word. Okay, you did it. You did whatever you did. What are you doing now? Okay, chapter 5. And if you want to deep dive into chapter 5, of course, I'm sure you've caught on by now. That is episode 14. Round T, what do you got for us?
Releasing the past. Our most profound suffering comes from resistance to this natural process. We are in pain because though we must change our lives, we are holding on to baggage and debris from the past. As we carry unresolved emotions from day to day, we gradually move our past trauma into our future lives.
Yeah.
Just a fact, man. It's true. I see a lot of it in people nowadays,
Yeah.
And I respect people who have worked on that and overcome it and aren't afraid to share that. I've been in therapy, right? Yeah. I've done my fair share. I've paid my dues, right? For me to feel better, for me to come back into my natural light, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's just the name of the game, man. I mean, what I've learned is being authentically me and just shedding that past, right? Everyone's got a past, but I think the power in it is just accepting it and being fully transparent, honest about it. And that's who I am.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a bad thing. It's just my story. Everyone has a story.
Everyone. And dude, she really shined the light on loss being part of the plan. Right? Loss is always part of the plan.
I've learned the most from past relationships that failed, past things that have slipped underneath me, and realizing the story and the message behind it. That's so true. And I guarantee the same for you. Correct?
100%, man. And it's
yes, sir.
It's that recollection afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's the shattering of the jigsaw puzzle, right?
It's like, dude,
you're piecing it back together. You're like, okay, this makes sense. Totally. Right? And that loss blew everything up for you to piece it back together so you can understand it. It is an opportunity to grow, and it's a beautiful thing. Loss is a beautiful thing in a tragic way sometimes. It's hard to swallow.
It is.
Loss is always part of the plan. And I thought that was amazing. So
love that take on that, bro. I love that take.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough, right? Because
loss is a very challenging thing. I was thinking about my grandma the other day. Randomly just thought about her. I have a tattoo on my chest to remind myself of her, and I patted that. I was like, hey, I miss you. I hear you. Like, I know that's, I don't know if it's part of life is, Yeah, it's part of the plan. You lose things. We're designed to lose things. Everyone dies, right? We don't. No one's eternal, but your legacy is eternal, in my opinion. So that's why you got to live your best life. So that's a hot take there. We're building for generations to come. How do you want your bloodline to remember you?
Right. And that memory
What kind
of
of
your
bloodline do you
grandmother,
want to create?
you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
probably like just does so
But yeah,
much for you.
I mean, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It's like I know she'd be proud of me, so that means a lot.
Yeah.
Um.
It's a beautiful thing.
Chapters.
So
chapter 6.
no, let's touch more a little bit on chapter 5. So this is touching on how we store unresolved emotional experience in our body. I know you said that. And then the creation in the schedule that you've made for yourself, the creation of time for yourself. You need time to process your emotions, okay? You need time to work through these things, right? Especially a loss, right? So you need the time catered to you, for you, to do you. So make that time. It's very important to make that time. And then the emphasis on about how healing is uncomfortable. Okay, healing is if I just say the word healing, it has this beautiful positive meaning, right? But if you're self-healing, right? If you're going through the process of healing yourself, it's an uncomfortable situation. It can be hard, the things that may come up. Okay. And she touched a lot about that on this chapter. And I thought that was good because it is so true. And then she gave you, a couple of ways to go about healing, right? Breath scans, following your breath through your body, finding areas of stiffness and then staying there and seeing what emotions you might be holding in that area. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then journal
I
it.
like that. I like that, Ada.
Yeah. And then journal these things, write it down, get it onto pen to paper or type it on a keyboard, whatever works best for you. And then exercise, move your body physically. Okay. Everyone should fucking exercise. Everybody, whatever that looks like for you, go for a walk. Maybe it's half a mile. Maybe it's 10 miles. Okay. Maybe it's fucking lifting. Okay. Maybe it's running. Maybe it's biking. Exercise. Fucking do it. No excuse. Come on. And then cry and yell. Okay. Release. This is good. Okay. Chapter 6. If you want the reference for chapter 6, it's episode 15. You know the drill, baby. Ron T, what are you thinking on chapter 6 here?
Chapter 6. The work now is to envision who you want to be. Connect with the most powerful version of yourself. Design your life through your daily routine and uncover your true purpose for being. Be willing to be disliked.
Yeah.
That's what I got. I mean, I think you've got to envision yourself in that future state, right? And I do have visions of myself like, hey, down the road, what do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as? And that impacts how I show up in my daily life because I picture myself of my highest, best version. And it almost like connects with my present self. And it's like, okay, if I want to be that person and do that, then might as well start now.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to get ahead of the game, right? And I think envisioning that and at least having a vision of that, I think will help you. It's like, dreams are more likely to come true if you write them down. And it's almost just like kind of like that vision of seeing yourself as your future self. And then, taking steps to get there. In a sense, it's kind of similar to writing that down and like kind of who do you want to be, kind of, encrypting that into your, it's like etching your name or like what the Native Americans used to do with, with their spears, sharpening their spears on a rock. It's kind of like, labeling and making that blueprint for who you want to be and that best future self. So, doing everything you can to connect with the most powerful version of yourself, envisioning who you want to be, design your life to line up with that and with your daily routine. I know daily routine is huge. We just talked about that: cleanliness, decluttering your mind, decluttering your space, not having anything get in the way of potential roadblocks of you from reaching that. And I think doing everything you can to get there, uncovering obviously your true purpose and when you change and switch up, a lot of people are, the right ones will stand by your side, and the ones who are meant to shed and not be a part of your life will end up maybe dislike you or not be there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You've got to do what you got to do. So that's my take on chapter 6. And then I have something for chapter 7, but I'll let you get back into chapter 6.
So chapter 6, everything you just described, but if you read it, or just listen to episode 15, she really helps you and guides you with the process of envisioning your future self. Okay. Who do you, what are you wearing? What do you look like? How do you carry yourself? How do you speak? All these little things, right? So you're envisioning that. And she kind of helps you step by step through this process. And then the handing of the keys to your new life. Okay. This is who you want to become, right? So who is it that you want to become? Envision that, because it is totally possible. So she brings you through that step by step process. And she also talks about the importance of using your breath. Okay. And she talked, dude, something I loved about this chapter is how she said, assume everyone and everything has something to teach you. Right? You're open to the knowledge around you. Because if you're closed off and you think, this and that, and you got a set path and this, you're everything, and you only have one streamlined source of information, you're not going to be as open to receiving all this knowledge around you, right? So, dude, someone that you hate or something that you dislike strongly has something to teach you. Okay.
100%.
So I really did love that. And then she talked about principles and the importance of setting principles and creating new principles, and what your future self has for principles and how it's different than your current ones now. So chapter 7, if you want chapter 7 deep dive, that is episode 16. This is the last chapter of the book, and I know you said you wanted to start it off, so why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Self-sabotage to self-mastery. From the bottom of the mountain, looking up, being like, oh, crap, here we go, to overcoming that mountain. You were responsible for moving your life back. So you are responsible for moving it forward as well. Believing not only are you able to live your entire life in total calmness, knowingness, and peace, but you can actually live your life from there. It's not just moment after moment. Yeah, I might feel that would come back to yourself, but you can live your life from there. And you need to believe that and own that, because it's a possibility.
Yeah.
If you can have a moment like that, ask yourself, why can't you live your life in that space? Why can't you? What's holding you back? And it's you. It's you. It all comes back to you. Forgiving yourself and people who've harmed you in the past. Forgiving yourself that you weren't, in the mental state, like for me in the past, that I wasn't able to overcome or play Division I baseball, or forgiving myself, because that's the only way to move forward. Right? And understanding that, right? Like owning up to who you were, your mistakes, or things you should have done differently. You're the one you moved your life back, so you're obviously responsible for moving it forward.
Yeah.
So it's powerful, and it's true. So that was my take. And overall, I'll let you kind of have at it, but this book was perfect for me. I realize I've been self-sabotaging a lot in my personal life and in my previous baseball career. This was a book I truly needed to read to understand myself more in my past, understand how to overcome these limiting beliefs and live my best life without self-sabotaging myself in my life moving forward in my future. So this was a blessing. I'm glad I read it. And I have a better understanding of myself and outlook on life from this. So that was my total overall outlook on this book, and I recommend it to anyone who's struggled with this in the past. So yeah, go ahead, take it away. Give me what I want from you is your chapter 7 review, as well as your overall book review. And I'm going to give you some space to get into that now.
Okay. Before I dive into that, I want to touch on something that you said, which was, why can't you live your life from that space all the time? Right. And she did say that in the book, and you brought it up here today. And I think that is so true, right? Because I have little moments of gratitude, little moments of appreciation, little pure moments of absorbing the beauty before me. appreciation for something that someone did for me, right? Small little moments, right? Of these things. And the more you do it, the more you do it. Bottom line, right? So, like, you can live your life from that point. And it's the gentle nudge. Okay, the more you give yourself the gentle nudge, the gentle reminder, like, hey, no, be grateful. Hey, no, this is beautiful. You've driven that road 100 times, but look, dude, it's fucking beautiful, right? You've, you know, maybe you're like in a relationship with someone, you've kissed this person 100 times, but no, it's still just as special as the first one, right? You know, you've read this poem 100 times, but still has the same meaning. Be grateful. Same thing. Started your truck 100 times, started today. Be grateful.
Be grateful for that.
You've walked through this door for work 100 times, 1,000 times.
Be grateful for that 1,000 the first time.
Right. So it's living your life.
You could get hit by a bus walking home.
Exactly. So you're present, right? And you're grateful, and you're living from that place. So I really did love that, and I think it's so true. You can always be in a place of that, right? And that's what I think Buddhism is really all about, or most religions, right? It's the inner peace all the time, enlightenment, right? That's what it is. I think
it's called, yeah.
So yeah, chapter 7, she touched on mental strength and how planning, and people with mental strength are planners, and how planning really plays a huge role in helping you achieve your goals. The proper use of energy, where are you putting into this energy? Ask yourself, is this situation worth my energy? Is this person worth my energy? That's sacred, right? That's you. That's your energy. Where are you putting it? Ask yourself that and reevaluate it. Wounds need attention, right? Don't ignore wounds, right? You don't just slap a Band-Aid on an infected wound and say, well, okay, well, now you got to...
That's good to go.
Yep. So...
Then it gets in... Hey, and then that's also a metaphor. Analogy. Look at this. You get a cut. You don't just... Or like a bad, deep infection, wound. Say, equate this to past trauma. You don't just slap a Band-Aid on it and say it's fine. Because guess what? Over time, that could get infected and even become worse.
Yep.
So it's an analogy.
Yeah. 100%.
Treat that wound.
Treat
the time and effort.
Treat the wounds. And at the appropriate time, right? So, yeah. I thought it was just quality over quantity, she said. I thought that was so beautiful as well. Someone very special to me has made that prevalent in my life as well. Like, I've heard it 100 times, but it's just resonating differently with me now. I view it and feel it in a different way recently, which is awesome. And challenging times are transformative, right? And the time for rest and play is very important. And yeah, it's really just ending on that you are capable of self-mastery, and this is what it's all about, and it looks different for everyone, but there's the common ground. So this book. I agree with everything you said about this book. I needed to read this book. I learned so much about myself through the process of reading this book. I gained so many tools to help cope and help grow and help understand, and just...
Tool belt's getting bigger, bro.
Dude, help understand the world better, help understand myself better. And then, yeah, man, this book was something really, really special. And I am deeply appreciative of the knowledge inside this book. And I'm really happy that we were able to read it together, take notes on it, and then, talk about it here, because we're hitting that knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just reading the book. We're doing it in a different way. And I feel like I'm absorbing that knowledge now so much better than I would have if I just read it, right? We're reading it, we're taking notes, and then we're plotting
we're comprehending. I feel like I'm back in school, my man.
I know, I love it, dude.
Self mastery school, kid.
Yep.
Cook them like me.
It's so good, man.
So good, man. Awesome. And should we go ahead?
Yeah, I love this book. Deeply appreciative of it. That's the whole shebang of it. Like I said in the beginning, I really think that just give it a read, man. If you didn't read along, just give it a read. If you don't want to, that's fine.
Or listen to the podcast.
Just listen to the podcast. We got it in the pod. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. But whatever. We're going to announce our new book for next episode. We will be reviewing the first chapter of our new book. So drum roll, please. I'm going to hit the drum roll. Ronan, why don't you announce it? Ready, go.
Do Hard Things.
Who's it
by Steve Magnus.
Do Hard Things by Steve Magnus.
Why we get resilience wrong in the surprising science of real toughness. Let's get into it.
Yep.
Cook 'em next week. The week after, Do Hard Things. Bringing it to you live. Please follow along, order the book, or just listen to the pod.
Can I read a little summary here? This is This is Audible's summary. It's actually, yep. Okay, so in Do Hard Things, Steve Magnus beautifully and persuasively regiments our understanding of toughness. This is a must-read for parents and coaches and anyone else looking to prepare for life's biggest challenges. Okay? So, I'm really excited to see what this book has to offer. And I think it's a good transition because shit gets fucking hard. It gets hard and it sucks, but we need to push through that. And pushing through that, and like you said, you know, when you were talking about the class, that was a little resistance. That was a little hard. I mean, it wasn't physically tough pushing yourself mentally to go to that class, right? But it's that's that mental toughness that you acquired, and then you showed up to the class.
Yes.
You did the workout, and then you're reaping the benefits from it. So this is going to relate to a lot of things in life, for me, for you, and for the listener and for the reader. And I'm really, really excited to dive into this one. Yeah, dude, I don't know. It's kind of just like we just picked it, right? It's just like the mountain is you.
That's our message. Do hard things.
Yeah.
You know?
So the book could suck. Who knows? Let's get into it, though. I'm excited.
But we're going to still take away something from it.
Yeah.
If we don't resonate, because this is what we do. We're constantly learning and evolving as human beings and trying to be our best self. And I hope everyone out there is doing so. And we love you all. We appreciate you all for tuning in. This is one of my favorite episodes. I'm just going to be honest. And we keep getting better and better over time. Aiden, thank you so much for showing up, as always, and doing all the work behind the scenes. Can't do this without you and JMO. So I love coming here and bringing this wisdom to you all. Feel free to comment. We have our website. It's in our link. It's in our bio. It's in our Instagram. It's everywhere. And we also are going to be getting merch out to those people.
Let's go. Merch is coming.
Merch is coming. We're also going to be selling merch. We're going to have
small amount.
Small amount of merch.
First
so,
drop
if you want
is
one,
a small
if you're listening to this podcast, hit us up on Instagram or whatever. And if you want merch, we'll send it your way.
Yeah.
And we gotta come up with a price and all that. But
yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that'll all come when we cross that bridge. Roan T, I just want to say right back at you, brother. I appreciate you taking the time to do this podcast, work behind the scenes. And this episode was beautiful. Grateful for this book and the time that we shared together reading this book and the knowledge that we gained from it. Yeah, so much love to our small community as always. What do we got?
I got one more thing for the audience.
Let's go.
Listening. Go climb that mountain.
Climb the fucking mountain.
Climb it. God damn it. Climb the mountain.
Fucking climb it.
Pissed.
Oh, Roan T's pissed. Yep, climb that mountain. You deserve to climb that mountain, and you deserve all the things you gain from climbing that mountain. As always, guys, we appreciate you deeply, and we love our little community very much. And we will catch you next week with the new buzz of the day.
Do hard things.
And a new book. How about that? All right. Everyone have a beautiful week, and we'll catch you next week for episode 18. Holy Moses. 18.
Holy Moses. Cook them like Hummer does with chicken and Caesar.
All right.
Right?
We'll catch you guys next week. We appreciate you guys.